All right, so we're gonna do some server refactoring. We're gonna get SQLite up and running and potentially get something happening with SQLite. The idea for SQLite is to work as a sort of a database for users and sessions. So whenever you go and log in with your Gmail account, you're gonna have a session ID assigned to you, and then we can store it on the database, and whenever you come back we can just use that. We could have some sort of timeout for the sessions. The idea is that you don't have to always connect, and it's saved somewhere, and we're going to also use it to save the last time that you placed the block. That way we could limit the the block placing rate per user. All right, so first we need to find actually let's start the refactoring. So let's open the project and see how ugly it is. All right, so this is up. Let's go ahead and just separate these into different files. So we have the server session. So this is the session of, so we have one of these classes instantiated per connection. So let's go ahead and, do I have namespace? Oh, look at that, move type to its own file. I'm gonna do the same to this. So the server, I'm not sure, I'm gonna do a lot of, I don't know what we're gonna do inside this class. It's probably just gonna stay like this till the end of the project, but whatever, let's just move it to its own file. So the root path, we do send it to the server, right? Oh no, we only send the secrets. So we might need this root path to be accessible from inside the sessions. I might do some, will we? I guess we can deal with that if we ever need to. And one thing I wanted to do as well with refactoring is for the session handler here. We're probably going to have a lot of this happening where we're doing custom logic for specific URL paths, paths that need to be dynamic and react based on user input, like the login or the auth. And I'm probably going to have to add something like logout as well. Somehow we need to move this into their own little maybe methods. We could do methods, and then if we get too many methods, we can move those methods out to their own class or something. But yeah, let's just track this as a method. So I'm gonna say do login, or maybe handle login. Gotta love those default Windows sounds. The same for this guy. So why can't I? Wait. Why can't I export it? Handle request. There you go. Well, actually, response, because this is a response from the client with some extra data, so I think that makes a little more sense. So handle of response. We need the URL query to be passed by the root URL as well. We need to make it async. Here, instead of break, we're gonna have a return. That's about it. So you're gonna send this and the query. Well, right. Oh, I almost forgot. Since this is async, we should wait. Yeah, we cannot wait for it because it is a void. We need to make it a task, so it's awaitable. Cool. I think this is a good start. Should keep things a little more clear, and it might also be then a good spot to install SQLite. So I'm gonna install it through Nugget. Manage Nugget packages. That's in the right place. So SQLite, there should be Which one? I guess this one by SQLite development team. That's better, right? Install. Yeah, we'll have to tinker with this. I think I've used SQLite before in my life, but we'll see what happens. Ooh, actually, that's interesting. We need to pass in a connection from the outside, so all of these could access the database. Yeah, we'll probably have to start a connection to the database from inside here and pass it into the server, and the server will pass it into all of the clients. I assume that's the best way to do it. If not, we're gonna change it later, but as long as we can get access to that connection, everything's gonna be fine. Okie dokie. So I guess one sec. Alright, so I was trying to find the docs of the thing of this SQLite package and didn't find it, and I found that Microsoft themselves have a SQLite thing. So I think I'm gonna use it instead. Let's uninstall the one we just installed and get the one from Microsoft. There you go, so Microsoft Data SQLite. Let's install that and let's use their documentation to figure out how to work with this. So yeah, we need to create a full-on connection. So I guess this is just an example of how to create a connection, how to create a command, execute it, and then how to read the response. While read name gets, I guess, because you're reading row by row or something. We'll figure it out. Shouldn't be that complicated. But for one, we need a SQLite connection here. So database connection. We need to be using the thing. We no longer need that because we moved it to a different file. Now do we need to do that? We might not have to do it there. We might be able to get away with setting it up here. So for example, SQLite connection. Connection equals, yeah, so that was great. So pixels.db sounds like a good enough name. So we got a connection going on. We might have some logs as well here saying creating a database connection. So then we get the database connection. Now, this will probably create a pixels.db at the current path of the executable, which is inside the bin folder. I don't really want to put any database files in there because there's a chance they might, be deleted, or since that folder is managed by the .NET build and run and all that stuff. So what I'm thinking is, this is our current structure. This is where the server is at. In the actual case, usually this is the release one, but it doesn't really matter, it's all the same. It would probably create it alongside the executable. I want to create it somewhere back in the root. So we have the client server, our static file distribution, and we could just have another one here saying just something like data or resources. Resources might be a good name. So the resources would be something like the database, maybe some other random stuff that we might also save and access, like template files, or who knows. So let's say data, I like data more. And one thing I'm going to do though is include it in this git ignore file. I think this is how you do it. This way, whenever we pull changes or push changes, we're not going to include our database in there. So if we go here to the terminal and do a little get status, you'll see that we are not getting that folder, especially because it's empty, but yeah. Now, does this accept a full path thing? I hope it does, because we're gonna go ahead and say data path equals to this with data, and then we just say data path and boom. Well, actually, we should do rather something like this instead, just because every system has different ways to type their paths, and this avoids breaking things. Just it's going to be compatible with whatever system we run this on. We don't have to worry about backslashes, forward slashes, whatever else. So this should create the connection. I wonder. Okay, no, it creates an object, and then we need to open the connection. So let's go ahead and open the connection. Yeah, so it can give me a SQLite exception. So let's go ahead and say try catch SQLite exception. All right, and then we're gonna say return an error opening database connection, and then the message. That seems about right. We might actually say something like this, just so it might be easier to read what the actual error was. Let's run it, see what happens. Create a database connection. Seems like it successfully created it. Let's make sure it is inside data. Look at that. And let's double check here, status, add. Yeah, so should have committed earlier, but refactor and install SQLite. So as you can see, we're not pushing anything inside data because it's inside the git ignore, and we need that. We do not want to. I'm curious because on the server, this folder won't be existing right now by default. Will it fail? Oh, there you go, unable to open database file. We need to make sure that path exists. So what we can do here is say if directory that doesn't exist, then create directory data path. So this will ensure that it is there, and now it succeeded because it created the data path and it's in here. Cool. Cool. Now we have a thing. Let's go ahead and create a void init database function, and we're gonna give it a connection. Then we're gonna init database. So creating database connection, initializing. I said initializing. I wrote initialization. That's awesome. Let me get some initialize database. So tables, tables. Initialize database tables, and then we're gonna give it the connection. We're never dropping it because we want it to be alive for the entire process. One that if we need to keep it alive or if it handles that itself, I'm not sure. Initialize database. So here we need to run our commands. So we say connection create command, and then say command.text equals to that. So connection.create function command. Okay, so var cmd equals to that, cmd that command text equals to something. And this is potentially where it might be interesting to have some resources folder. And this resources folder, we do want it to be put on a git thing. So we're gonna say something like init database. There's gotta be my SQL file potentially. My SQL. Let's open it with VS Code and see what's up. It should recognize it, I think. And the idea is we should my SQL file, command file. And I'm pretty sure there is a file that you can load, SQL. There you go. And you get the highlight automatically for things like VS Code and whatnot. But this is not the query we want. We don't actually want a query, we want to create tables. Do you have comments here on that? SQL file comment? There you go. So initialize all tables if they don't exist. Hopefully we won't need to change them later, because I'm not sure how we're going to do that. But I'm sure there is a way. This might be a good ChatGPT time. Here it is. So this is what it suggested. So creating a user table and session table. Let's just call these, and we'll edit them based on what we need. So we can probably make this a little bigger. Ooh. It's not a lot of text here anyways. So create table if not exists. Sounds awesome. Users and then sessions. Why is this? Will this be an issue? Hope not. So user ID, I'm gonna have a text primary key. I'm not sure if we do need text. I think we need text because the reply we get back from, we can actually test this now. Is the website down? Bad gateway. Maybe it was because I pushed the connection thing. Let's see what we last pushed on the repo. I keep doing this. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, we are indeed doing this, but the fault is not there, so it failed to start the server. So that's good. It's not good, but it makes sense that it failed. We can test it locally though. Hopefully the cache is already done because it's been several days. Jesus Christ. Let's do it with Edge again. Ugh. So, what is happening? There you go. Took a while. So this is the ID. I mean, it's a big number. I think we should store it as a string. Yeah, we'll store it as a string. We'll not worry too much. We might also store like the avatar. We might use it on the website. So here, if we compare these two right now, well, we want to save, so user ID, so it's going to be this thing, it's going to be text, and it's going to be the primary key. So what this means is we're going to use the user ID to identify the user. And then we're going to have the email, which I don't know if it should be unique. Can you have, actually I think it should be unique. Okay, we're not going to have a password. We are going to have a avatar URL. Do this. So user ID, email, avatar URL, create an ad. Sure, current timestamp is just going to be set automatically. You don't have to worry about it. Might be something interesting that we could have. So we could have like for how long have you been registered and stuff like that. Potentially we could have can you have booleans in here, like is banned or something? If we decide we want to ban people in the future, we can add the role. So regular user, admin user might have some different roles, banned, and then we can say role change. So whenever we change the role, we're gonna think about also changing this, so role change that. So for example, my train of thought behind this is we could have a limitation for how long you can have a certain role. And we could have something like previous role. It's starting to get a little too complex, I think. So let's say you get banned. We should probably have something like is banned was band at daytime default null. Okay, so that way we don't remove the role information, because if we use the role to set if they were banned or not, we cannot revert to something other than, I don't know, regular user, which might not be a bad idea, because if you were banned, you probably don't deserve to go back to admin or something, but that's beyond the point. I think this will be better. So is banned, was banned at, seems good enough. Do we need something else? Oh, we do need something else. We need another timestamp. So placed block, last block placed at. We could actually default it to the current timestamp, so we avoid null values for these. I don't know how null works for date time. Do that to avoid mistakes, because you're not banned anyways. What happens? So my SQL datetime default null. Does anything talk about that? Not null. So I guess a daytime can be null. This is another one that we're just gonna have to test and see. I think I'm happy with this setup. Let's definitely do not want to do that. So session ID should work sort of as a private token. Once you have a session ID, you have access to that person's account. I think that's the easiest way to do it, and it should be something private. If somebody gets a hold of your session ID, it probably means that you either have a vulnerable machine, which, I mean, sorry, it's not my fault. You're opening porn.exe or something. Anywho, this should be text. It should be a primary key. So session ID is going to be some sort of hash value, like hash looking value, not a hash value. User ID, start date. Well, thinking now, this might be band time, start time, block placed time. I think last block placed time makes a lot more sense here. Created time. Right, makes a little more sense to me. Do we want to have an end time? Sure. What is this? Foreign key, user ID, references, user ID. Oh, that's interesting. Let's maybe, yeah. What does this do? So yeah, it's kind of what I thought. Essentially, it makes sure that the user ID exists in the users table. If it doesn't exist, it's not going to allow me to create that session, and it's probably for the best. All right. So here, let's go ahead and say string resources path. And then here in a database, I'm going to say resources path, resources, and we're going to feed it through its arguments. And essentially, what I want to get is this file. So initialize tables might be a better name. Cool. I'm just gonna do, so we're gonna say file read all text from this. So far command equals to this. No, command text equals to this. And then we're initializing database tables, message, and we don't need a return here. guess we probably should do a boolean. So return true as in it's successful, and then here return false as in we failed. So back at this feller, we're gonna say if didn't manage to initialize it, we're just gonna abort the server because stuff shit is hitting the fan. Might as well stop things until we can, right? And if we go to our data thing here, we can see there's some stuff in it. So it created something. Yep. That looks good to me. We don't need this because we're already doing it there. So starting server. Port. Yeah, this makes more sense to me. We don't need that. I don't know where that was on. So starting server on port. Started server on port. All right. So creating database connection, initialize database table, starting server on port. Nice. Cool. Now we need a way to actually register users and create a session. So I'm thinking we probably want to abstract that away from the session handles and all that stuff. So we probably want to, instead of passing the connection directly down the stream, we might have a wrapping class around it that allows some higher level functionality like create user, get session, create session, all that shenanigan. So let's create a file for that. So file, add new item. Let's call this database. Key, and the database is gonna have a SQLite. So connection, of course, is gonna be passed in through through here. So connection. This is gonna be read only, and we're now gonna wrap it after we've initialized it. So here we're gonna say database db equals to new database with the SQL client. Fancy schmancy fancy. And then we're gonna pass this database to the sub. So the sub's gonna have a read-only database db, and then this database is gonna be sent to the client to the session, not the client, because the session is still on the server, but it's a session from the server to the client. So here we're gonna have a, well, let's keep it identical, so database, and then we initialize it. So this allows us to have an interface to the database through this thing. So I can say database, I'll do something. Cool beans. Now, yeah, that would be a good idea to put it here, but I'm not gonna do it now. Let's go ahead and create some functionality. So Boolean, I guess, because it could fail. Create user. And we might need a user struct of some sort. Let's go ahead and create a user struct. So public struct user info, and then here we're gonna have string user ID. We're gonna have the user email. Let's just say email. I guess here we can also say just ID. So ID email, because we know it's from the user. What I want to do is I want to open this SQL file and use it as reference. So yeah, we have the avatar URL, avatar URL. Then we have the role. Then we have is banned. Then we have banned time. So is it a date time? Or is it like, I know this is enough time span. Okay. Then we have a public, date, time, last block placed, and create time. So public, date, time, create time. It just with the auto completion, it said last block deleted time, which I guess placing right now gonna mean is deletion too. We're not too late to change it, so last voxel modification time could be a better name for it. And since we can, I'm just gonna delete the old one because I don't want to worry about modifying existing tables. Yeah, that looks good to me. I should also create a struct for the session. So session info. We're gonna have the same thing. We're gonna have a session ID. Then we're gonna have a user ID. Then we're gonna have a start time. We're gonna have an end time, which could be null apparently. Yeah, default is null. So let's make this nullable. And then this is just setting constraints on it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's about right. So these are the things we care about. Let's accept a user. So user to create. Yeah, so SQL command create user. Create entry and table is what I want to do. Insert into. Oh, actually looking into here. No, this is just doing a selection. If we look into here, so insert into table, values, okay, so this is if you want to insert more than just one dude. Okay, let's build this query. So what we're gonna say is we're gonna say connection.create command var cmd cmd.command text equals it would have already given it to us. Equals to this. So these are the two different lines that we care about. So insert into. I'm pretty sure these have to match the ones from the text, right? So here it's not ID, it's user ID. Then we have email, avatar URL, role is banned time, last voxel modification time, and created time. So this looks good to me. This is, but we can cheat a little bit and essentially say user to create that ID, and I think we can get it to autocomplete for us. Any second now. There you go. That's a long ass thing. might help the readability. So yeah, we insert a user, ID, email, avatar SQL, URL. The role is band time, last modification, and created time. So this is going to automatically transfer these into strings by doing toString. I don't know if I need to be like, hey, this is a string, so count it as a string. Not entirely sure. Oops. How that side works. I guess we could say, hey, no, this is a string, this is a string, avatar URL is a string, role is a string. Speaking of role, we can actually have an enum here. I'm saying roles, well, role, I guess. So user, admin, I guess we can do a moderator, user, moderator, administrator, and this would be like this. Okay. Yeah, then we're gonna do the try catch. So try, execute, non-query. Ooh, how does it look on this side? Non-query, okay. Because we're not expecting. Oh, it gives me a code. Execute non-query. SQLite code. So here we should say if inserted is smaller, well, is different than 1, then return false. I might want to go ahead and, what does it want to give me? Yeah, I was gonna say I might want to throw an exception, but I'm not sure I really do. I'm just gonna say return false. And error creating user. What does it say? Error creating user without any specification, because we don't know exactly what went wrong. We might do something to differentiate the errors. I think that might be good, because when you're looking at this, okay, it's some information, but then you have this, and you're not entirely sure if it is an error or not at a first glance. So we're gonna just add a little thing here. Okay, so we got the create user. Let's also have a public boolean create session. Let's make sure these are the same. So session ID, user ID, start time, and time. ID, user ID, start time, and time. Yeah, this looks good. Error creating session. Amazing. This is awesome. Now, is there a way to open databases and view their contents with some sort of tool, instead of me having to write queries to test it? That would be nice and dandy. Seems I got some errors here. I think I put the database first. Oh. No, I don't like that. I'm gonna do it like this. And then here, we're gonna put it back where it was. Okay. Seems to be working just fine. I'm gonna have a little surprise. I did spend some time off camera and to build a simple UI that I can work with, because building the UI, user interface, user experience, isn't part of this. Instead of just having a couple buttons, I decided to make something a little more substantial. But yeah, forgetting this, does this still not work with login? Ugh. Anyways, there's nothing to test right now still. the server is starting, there's no errors, and the database should have been created. Here it is. Right, so I did a little Googling, and apparently, there's some, look at that. There's a VS Code extension that allows you to view it. Oh, I like this even better. Why was this shown to me first? Well, I guess it has more downloads, so maybe it's a bit shitty. But it can just directly open SQLite files. I guess I need to rename the database to SQLite. Let me see, let me open our folder, our data folder. Pixels.db. I need to rename this to SQLite. SQLite. Ooh, look at that. So it's showing me my tables. So users and session. Let's rename it so whenever it creates a database, it's directly called SQLite. There you go. So another time I'm going to delete that. I'm going to create a new one. If we see we have the SQLite here, if we check it here, bada bing, bada boom. We have our users, we can inspect what we created. So you can see here, this is even showing it's a little calendar. This is the primary key, this is the primary key. Awesome, nice. So let's start creating users. So to start creating users, we have a special place for that right inside the session. Whenever we handle the WAF request, then we get all in my head. We have this user info. Let's go ahead and check the Googles. I'm gonna go blind with this. I need to cut my hair. Google of documentation. Server-side web apps. Scrolly. More scrolly. It's not it. Oh, this is it, right? Yeah. Well, not really. I had it still open here. So we get a JSON. So let's go ahead and parse this JSON. So user info text. And then we're going to go ahead and say, info data equals to that. And then you say, ooh, so now here there's a dilemma. We need to create the user if the user does not exist. Okay, let's create the user. Let's see what happens when you create it a second time. We should get an error. So user info, user. Ooh, fancy schmancy. Yeah, we should have better error checking, but I'm not gonna bother with that for now. Maybe I should. But let's say ID equals to this, email equals to that, password. What is wrong with you? Avatar URL. What else do we need from? So we have the ID, the email, and the picture. That's all we really need. So this is picture, this is email, and that is ID. That is correct. And the ID is say if ID is null, or this is null, or that is null. Scream error. We probably should create an error page. I have an error page created, but it's static. Yeah, so we need a way to make it dynamic. Let's not worry about that for now. That's details. So if any of this happens, means that something went wrong, we didn't receive the right data. Otherwise, just move along. So here is ID, here is the email, here is the avatar URL. Now that I'm thinking about it, this resources initialize DB thing, the text doesn't have to not be null. So once again, remove this, and we're not going to fail if the avatar error is null. We can set it as null. If you don't have an avatar, we don't really care. So the avatar here can be null. It's nullable. So this should go away. Thank you. Say user info. New user info. Right. Ban time. Can I do this? I wonder what's going to happen down here. Did I allow it? Yeah, I'm not saying not null, so I'm assuming all of these could be null. We'll try. We'll see what happens. So we're going to set this to null. This, we're going to set it to now. And created time, we're also going to set it to now. Okay, and then we're going to say database create user. And if it didn't manage to create it, is there a way, is this, so execute, async. So we're going to do a async task bool. I'm going to await for that, and bada bing, bada boom. This way we're not hanging for every command we do. So then here we say await for the result of this, and if we didn't manage to create it, we're going to send another error. So failed to create user, and here failed to get user data. Here invalid response from user data. So this way we know what exactly is happening instead of just having error being screamed out of its lungs. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Log in. Ooh. Got a syntax error. So got an error creating the user near comma syntax. Well, that doesn't really help me that much. Let's see, SQL command insert into example. Maybe we're missing something obvious. Can you give me concrete examples? Yeah, this is what we're doing. Insert example, date, time. I'm imagining it has to be something timestamp. So maybe we need why can't I do this? Like this should work, right? Interesting. So this has to be a timestamp. And so has this. So has this. Now I'm just sort of hoping. Oh, this is an integer. So if is banned 1, if it's not banned 0. And I suppose I need to put this into parentheses because it freaks out. Let's try this again. Alright. Yeah, I cannot just refresh this page because the token becomes invalid. Another thing, near 4. 4. Let's maybe print out the command text. So let's say console.writeLine, command that text. So we get our thing back, so we can, see what we are writing and compare. So it's saying error 1 near 4 syntax error. Could be. Oh, I need to put it into little things here. So potentially, yeah. Let's try this again. Let's go. Log in. Still got an error. Table users has no column named avatar URL except does. Avatar. Delete the database again and try it again. This time around, things should go a little more nicely. No such function timestamp, but let's try it without the timestamp and see what happens. Bit of a trial and error when you don't know what you're doing, but ooh, it created it. We got no errors, and it outputted this, which means that if we go here, okay, let's close this and reopen it. Ah, look at you. So we have user ID, we have my email, we have my thing, we have my role, which is by default the first one that we set up in where is it? It's the database here. So it's user. Is band is 0, which in Boolean terms means false. Band time is null, so null worked here, so yeah. And then this should be the date of today. I wonder how this works. Should I convert it to Unix or whatever it's called? Time, like, what is it called? Because this datetime is local to my machine, right? We should be able to say to UTC is what I meant, my bad. What is file time UTC? To local time, whoops. Okay, so days time to UTC C# to universal time. Okay, my bad. Didn't lose that. So to universal time. So this way, it doesn't matter the local time zone. There you go. We just care about the universal time. So yeah. Can I delete the user from this tool? I can't. You know what I can't delete? No, I cannot delete it. It's, the thing is open. Now I can. Cool. So let's try again and log in and see what happens. So log in. Boom. If we open the SQL database, it's back here. And now, I guess maybe it. Oh no, look, the hour is different, which means it worked. Cool. Different from my hour. Okay, 4:27 down here, and this is saying 3:27. So cool. I'm curious what happens once we log in again. So log in. Yeah, error creating constraint failed. Users at email is not unique. Is there a way to filter it? Like create if not exist. So SQL create if not exist. T1. no, create, I don't want to create a table, create entry. Okay, actually, it's not exist, it's kind of what I'm looking for. Insert into, select, I see. I'm not a huge fan of that. Oh, this should also be unique. Okay. It's good that we can't delete the database now, because later we won't be able to, and I'm going to have to change the table definition. It's going to be a pain in the ass. All right, create this, and first login should work just fine. Login worked fine, should have created the thing. Second login should fail. Fail to create user, because it already exists. Error 19. Could we just check the 19? Because potentially, if we look for error, 19. Isn't there a list of what the errors mean? But yeah, it's saying error 19 and constraint failed. Users that email. We could potentially check if the error code is 19. If it is 19, it would just report as user already exists. Okay. There's gonna be like a code thing here. SQL error code. User already exists. So if user already exists, I think we should just return true, to be frank, and change the name of the function, of course. So create a user if doesn't exist. So this call down here would return true if the user exists, right? Let's test this and make sure. Whoopsie day, I don't know what just happened there. Is the server on? Yeah, it's on. Okay, let's log in again. It successfully did it. Let's log in once more. It successfully did it. And if we go to our database, we see we only have one entry of us, which that's normal. Yeah, so if it is duplicate, we just ignore the error. We say like, I don't care. Yeah, now we need to create a session. So in this auth response, we are logging in, right? So we're logging in, we're creating the user if it doesn't exist. Now we need to create a session for the user. So, and potentially in the response here, include a cookies header with the cookies that the user needs to add to later on do further requests. So we can compare the session ID later on and link it to a user. That makes sense. Oh yeah, session info. So that's exactly what I was thinking. So a new global unique identifier, toString, awesome. User ID is the user that just connected. Start time now, end time. We could do something like that. Add days, add months. Let's just say that you can every month you have to log in or something, re-log in. We're gonna set that the end time is, and that's post one. Yeah, I think this makes sense because every time you're trying to log in, it means you don't necessarily know, you don't know your previous session. Now this brings the question of how can we delete dead sessions? Might be something interesting to Google. So SQL, how to delete expired session. Yeah, it's sort of what I was imagining. SQL server session state. Yeah, so what I understand by reading this is that there's just a job that once in a while goes in, loops for all the sessions that exist, and deletes the ones that are expired, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. So interesting. We can have a command run. Potentially, we could have it run every time the server starts up. So every time we restart the server, we delete all of the expired sessions, and we make it synchronous. So it takes whenever the server is ready and opens the HTTP server, the SSL server, not SSL, the WebSocket server, we know that all the sessions are deleted. I think we can wait on this, and for now just do our testing, because this sounds like a bit of a pain in the ass. Maybe we can ask ChatGPT to create a command for us. All right, so I gave it our table syntax and asked it to give me a command that deletes expired sessions. To create a command like this, we'll need to decide what qualifies an expired session. For example, you might consider a session if it's been inactive for a certain period, such as 24 hours. I don't think this is exactly what we want. Let me rephrase the thing. All right. Let's see what he comes up with. So delete from sessions where end time is not null and end time is small. Seems good enough. We can probably save this inside something here. So let's see, delete expired sessions, SQL, go ahead and open that, paste that in. So delete from sessions, which is the table name, where end time, which is this guy, is not null, because defaults to null, and it is smaller than the date of today. And by date time, so yeah, you get the idea. Cool. And we gotta do something similar here. So initialize database, create. So for one, we're gonna do that. Cool. And then after we're done, we're gonna say command 2 dot command text equals to something else. Let me do this, oof, delete expired sessions. So the command 2 is equal to that. And then we're going to have a similar, I'm not going to return false, true just yet. I'm going to return false in case of a failure. And then, there you go. Yeah, this should probably go into the database class. Yeah, let's move it now. We're going to say bool init database. We don't need a connection because we already have a connection. And then down here, we want to say boom db.init database. We don't want to send that again. And it's probably private because I'm a dum-dum. And potentially we want to say bool is initialized. If it's already initialized, just return true. Initialized equals to true. Now, so we avoid situations where we might call this multiple times. It wouldn't hurt us, but we don't necessarily have to. It might not hurt either to potentially separate this into its own function, because we might be able to delete the expired sessions at some other time in the process other than just the initialization, but that should be fine. So let's go ahead and make sure the server still starts, and it does. I'm not a huge fan of these magic strings. I think we could benefit from making it a constant. So initialize, initialize tables file. I'm gonna have another const string. Can it? And there you go. It should be the same one. There you go. So cool. Now it makes me much more happy inside. This line here doesn't make me happy. Nice. So, okay, we got the deleting the old sessions part. Now, I'm running a bit out of time because I have to leave in 20 minutes. Can we get the session done in that amount of time? So we sort of already have it happening. We set a new UID, we set all of these, we set it to expire in 1 month. We can probably do some tests by setting it to expire in, say, 30 seconds. The idea is that we set it to 60, so we have time to create the session, check the database, see that the session is there, wait for a minute, recheck it once we restart the server, because we only do the cleanup once we start the server again, and see if it disappears. Yeah, so now we want to say database.create session. We're going to put the session info in there, and in the response here, let's get var response equals to this. Instead of user data, I'm going to say created session final response, and we're going to forward it there. But I do want to set cookie. Look at that. Session maximum age. What is this maximum age? Cookie max age. Crap. Indicates the number of seconds. We can say time span, session duration equals to new times, time span. So 0 hours, 0 minutes, 60 seconds. Is there like a from seconds? Yeah. Then add session duration, max age, this, that, seconds. Secure yes, strict yes, HTTP only true. What does that mean, HTTP only? Means that it might not be sent through WebSockets. Interesting. I guess for WebSockets, we'll have to handle authentication in a different way, where we potentially send this session ID at the beginning, and then just say that once that session is authenticated, we don't have to, on every single request, recheck that it is, because once you created a connection, you can't just change the IP. I mean, the user that's sending it can spoof the IP to send it to somebody else. But then at that point, if that happens, if you're doing it intentionally, then you're hurting yourself because you're giving somebody else your session. And if that happens from like an attacker point of view, it means they managed to, attack the user's machine. And at that point, that it's a lost cause. There's one more thing I want to do. Whenever somebody calls this login page, on the handle login, I want to check the cookies. How can I check cookies? Is that get cookie? I wish it was that simple. Set cookie. I don't want to set cookie. What can I get? Oh, cookies. Cookie. It's kind of annoying. I have to look for the cookies myself. I want it to be some sort of dictionary or whatever the case might be. Yes, I really do. Let's go ahead and send a request in here. I need to access those cookies. So for int I0, I smaller than cookies, which in... Whoa, what just happened? In this scenario, it's a long, so... What? Method group? Oh, cookies thing. Oops. So cookie at this guy, and then we can say, you know, string key, string value. Like, seriously, what is up with they put no effort into managing cookies first. Like, the number of cookies is long, right? And then when you try to access a cookie is an integer. Like, is this a joke? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it encodes some extra data on the other bits or something. I have no idea. Seems a bit redundant and seems a bit of an oversight. Maybe it is. So, if the key is equal to session, because that's what we set here, let's send a response. So make get response session, and then we're gonna send. This is not a good idea to print the session on screen. This is a very bad idea because this is supposed to be a secret. You know, you don't just print it on the page, because if somebody copies that link, they can impersonate you. But this is just for development purposes anyways. We just want to see what's behind this value. Like, what do we need to interpret? What information are we getting? Are we even getting something? I'm afraid then we need to return. We don't want to do this. I'm afraid that this might be cached, and if it is, it's just gonna hurt so bad. But I think on the last thing we disabled caching. Yeah, so it shouldn't cache no more. Shouldn't cache. Okay, before we do the test, how do I check the cookies? Media. Yeah, running out of time. Application. Oh, look at this. It's probably here. Look, cookies. Okay, so we have login, created session. Ah, but where's my cookie? Where my cookie at? Where's my cookie? Where my cookie be? Isn't this how you see? Oh, ah. Wait, no. It says 1 cookies in use, but where is it? What if we do /login again? It says created session. What if we do that? Here we say total cookies is that. Right, if we go back here, we just go back to log in. Total cookies is 0. Interesting. Why is it 0? And let's play a bit with this. So let's say var response equals to this. And then let's go ahead and set cookie. Cookie name, 1, 2, 3. Let's put a little bit more in terms of seconds. And let's log in again. But every time we refresh, we have 0 cookies, yet we should be seeing 1, because every time I receive this, I wonder if I need, like, what is the path? The path that must exist in the requested URL for the browser to send a cookie header. Oh, must exist in the requested URL. What does that mean? So, like, /login? The main? Well, in this scenario is localhost, but we don't. I guess we have the root URL. Oh, we want the host. Host. Oops. host, right? Send it right down the stream. What else we got? Secure, strict, yeah, it's secure, sure. Let's start it again. Let's log in. Every time I refresh, it's still saying total cookies is 0. Zero cookies now, so I mean, the path is /login. For example, path/docs, the request paths will match. The request paths will not. I mean, what if I do a /? Yeah, this is gonna, I don't think I'm gonna finish this in 5 minutes. It's gonna have to be revisited on how we can set cookies properly. I wonder if they have some sort of example here of using cookies. Name, I mean, the name should be anything, right? Defines the host to which the cookie will be sent. So, example.com. Expires, HTTP only, forbids JavaScript from accessing the cookie. Yeah, I don't need JavaScript to access this cookie. Yeah, this is gonna avoid cross-site scripting, which is a good thing. We don't need the server to know about it either way. Indicates the path must exist for. Okay, so I guess if we set it to empty, then it doesn't really care about. Let's oh, did I close it? Dumb. What if I call it something else? I'm getting out of these guys. What else do we have here? These, like, sure, it's secure, it's strict, and it's HTTP only. That's this. What if that's what we did? Yeah, if it's not there, it doesn't specify it. Oh, it could be because of the secure, since we're testing over HTTP. It's not HTTPS, aka it's not considered a secure. Kind of a. What is the secure ones do? Yeah, with HTTPS, it is not secure. That I can assure you. So what if? Ooh, the hosts potentially. Okay. Now it might work. Where it's still not working. Strict. What is strict? Means that the browser sends the cookie only for same site requests. That is, requests originating from the same site that the sent. Let's try and remove that constraint, because if that is true, then it's probably because of our host being valid that it's not expected. It still doesn't register it. So here would be like local host. I don't know if we need to specify the port in this scenario. say localhost. Here will be /login. It just work. Oh, time to leave. Let's do this last test and disappointment. Your connection is not secure. I know it's not secure. Does it have some sort of protection that is not setting the cookies? Come on, man. Whoops. I need to find a way to clear this cache. The last one is HTTP only. I don't... Oh, didn't I set it to false?